Hello and welcome to Google Tutorials. Today we're going to be looking at Google Meet. Part 1, an introduction to Meet. And this is going to be focusing just on participating in Meet. So this is going to be fairly simple and straightforward. So let's dive right in with a demonstration. Here's a meeting I have set up with 3 participants, myself and this fellow here who is named Rob Geiger, and Dial-Up, who has joined in from another location. He's a turtle, by the way, Dial-Up. Anyways, so let's go through some of the features in Google Meet. One of the first things is if I leave my mouse completely still for a moment, the bar at the bottom will disappear. As soon as I move my mouse again, the bar will pop up. I do not have to go down to the bottom. In fact, if I go down to the bottom, often I will get the Windows taskbar and that will kind of get into the way. So I just leave my mouse alone and it goes away. If I move my mouse at all, it's going to pop up. Let's go around the whole program and take a look at some of the features. The first feature is up here is the People button. And when I click on this, it opens the panel, the People panel. Say that 20 times fast. When I click off, it goes away. When I click on the People panel, I can also click on the Chat button, and the Chat panel pops up. And I can go back and forth between these two. When I click off, it goes away, and those two are right there. Back to the People panel, I can choose to focus on somebody if I want. So let's say I want to see Dial-Up. If I click on Dial-Up, it will pin Dial-Up to the front. And now I will see his image no matter what I do. And this sometimes confuses people because they go, whoa, I can't see who's talking right now because maybe Dial-Up's not talking. He's not really a very talkative turtle anyways. Say that 20 times fast. So if I want to get rid of this though, and he's pinned and I'm like, oh, I can't get rid of it, I need to hear whoever's talking, I just have to click on the unpin icon. And this is one of those things that you see in software often, where there are many, many ways to do the same thing in different ways. I can pin by clicking on the image right there, unpin by clicking over there. I can click on the People panel, and click on Dial-Up pin and click to unpin. So it's just a double action. Pin brings it to the front, and that's the only person I'll see, and then unpin brings it back. Note that this is from your perspective. You cannot control someone else's view in Google Meet. When I'm in the People panel, one of the other things I can do is I can pull down on the little menu just to the right of the name, and it'll bring up a sub-menu. The first one on the right is to remove. I can click on this and I can remove someone from the Google Meet. Now this is not a permanent thing, they could rejoin, so it's really meant to just sort of say, hey, you shouldn't be in here, and hopefully they will get the idea. Or it is to remove someone who has hung up for some reason and needs to refresh. That can do that. In the middle is the mute button. You can mute someone, but you cannot unmute them. They have to unmute themselves. But if their microphone is causing some interference because of some background noise, you can certainly mute them here. And then the third way to pin someone is right there. You can also pin there. So 3 different ways to pin, which is why it gets people in trouble. That is the People panel. Now on to Chat. Chat is very straightforward. When I click on the Chat, I can go down to the bottom and send a message, and everyone will get the message. I just hit enter and everyone will see it. But it's really easy to miss that because you will get a little indication that there has been some chatting going on, but you might not notice it because it's really subtle. So you either have to kind of watch for it, or you have to encourage people to use their microphone, which is probably best anyways, because that makes things simpler. But there are some times when people can't talk because they have a very noisy background, or for example, because their microphone isn't working and they might have to use the chat. On the top right is my own icon. Right now, it's not showing anything other than what my icon looks like, but if I turn my camera on, you will see what I am presenting to everybody else when I have my camera on. So that's kind of like a little thumbnail of what I'm presenting everybody. I can pin myself and see myself full size, but that doesn't really do me a lot of good because I usually don't need to see myself full size. I usually need to see other people. So I will unpin that. Also in here, Going down to the bottom now, those are the three icons at the top. Going down to the bottom, I have a menu button. When I click on the menu button, I can record the meeting. Now, only teachers and staff can record, students cannot record. When I do click the record, it will pop up a little menu saying, hey, you need to ask for consent, meaning you should make sure that everyone has agreed that you can in fact record them. And then you can click accept, and then it will start to record the meeting. The meeting will, when it's recording, will show a little button up at the top or a little icon that says REC in red, like it's being recorded. And then once you stop recording, the video file will be saved into your Google Drive, and it will be shared automatically with anyone who has been invited into this Google Meet. Also at the bottom is change layout. And when I click on change layout, I have a few different options. I can click on auto, which is what the default is, or I can click on tiled. Now, tiled is actually what Google has chosen as my default based on how many people are in here. But tiled can only show 4 people at once. So one of the ones that I really like is the sidebar. When I click on sidebar, it actually will minimize everyone so that I will see them just along the side. And you can have up to 10 people here. And it's a really nice way to see everyone and still have your screen really big. This is actually my favorite view. I really like this view. It's particularly useful when someone is presenting their screen, because then you can see their screen and you can still keep track of them on the right. The whole 12 across that Zoom uses is handy for when you want to just see people, but when you want to see presentations, it's nice to have something like this. And probably this will change within the next couple of days. Google is releasing an update to this that will add another layout that will be a tiled layout that will allow you to, I believe, show 16 people at once. And the final one I haven't shown is Spotlight. And Spotlight just simply zooms in on the last person or the person who is talking. And if I want, and I pin, for example, dial-up, it will just zoom in on dial-up, and it will leave dial-up there. So that is all the different layouts. Again, there's another one that's going to be added here called tiled within a few days. Also in here are turn on captions. It's also down at the bottom here. And if you want, you can turn on captions, and you will use Google's speech engine to capture everything you're saying. There is also settings. Settings is where you change what audio, your microphone, what speakers, and also what video camera you're using. So if you need to switch video cameras for whatever reason, for example, if I'm using a document camera and I want to switch between that and my regular video camera, then you can do that here. And then at the very bottom of the list here is use a phone for audio. And if I click on that, I can click on dial in, and then I can choose Canada. And this is a dial-in number that people can use to dial in, and they will connect their phone. If they connect to this, they will connect their phone to the Google Meet. So if they're having really bad bandwidth issues, they can still connect to the Meet and they can still participate. They will hear everything as if they were a part of this Meet. The only problem is that this is a long distance number and long distance charges will apply. So just keep that in mind. On the bottom left is the meeting details, and this has the information for the Meet, including the URL for the Meet. And if I click copy joining info, it will copy the joining info so that I can paste it later on into an email. Also in the bottom is the present now. And when I click on present now, it allows me to choose to present either a window, which is a specific application window, or an entire screen. And if you present your entire screen, which is what most people want to present, it's just whatever you're looking at will be presented to everybody else. A window is just a specific application, such as a PowerPoint or a Word document, and it doesn't necessarily matter what you're looking at any time on your screen. It just shows what is in that in that application. So most people usually want to choose entire screen. And then finally, at the bottom, I have my mute, which is also Control D for those people who really like to use keyboard shortcuts. I have the camera on and off, and then finally I have hang up, which will leave the call. And that's pretty much it for Google Meet. I hope this tutorial has been useful and can get you started in using Google Meet.